Hello, everybody, and welcome to None the Lesser, the podcast dedicated to bringing creators of art and music and all that delightful stuff straight to you. Today, I am interviewing someone that I couldn't help but not socially distance from. I had to have them right in my room. As a matter of fact, they're about 3 inches from my face. It's none other than Aimee Buchanan, my wife, who is the sole proprietor of Ebb Flo Studio, a nifty little art shindig. It makes it sound really bad. It's a really
he's looking right into my pupils. This whole intro.
It's a beautiful art studio that I get to witness right before my very eyes. Her her specialty is a novelty. They're the wonderful pets that she paints for people and puts them in beautiful little outfits. I think that's her specialty, but she does it all. She's amazing, and all while being a full-time mom, but we're going to get into all that. So, Aimee, so glad to have you on here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Yeah. Should we clink?
Yes, we are drinking some El Pensador. It's a Spanish Tempranillo. So,
yes, and I want to add that I do not drink almost ever. So I will try to keep my giggle from being super obnoxious.
No.
Because I think everyone in this room could agree that my giggle can get out of hand.
Yeah, I think we all agree on that.
Really quickly. So,
but
I'm going to try to have self-control of that.
No promises. I drink all the time, so don't worry. All right. Aimee, let's start off by you introducing yourself and telling everyone who you are and what it is you do.
Well, hello. My name is Aimee Buchanan. I am a fine artist currently with an illustration background. Mostly right now I'm painting animals, and that was something I had some kind of avoidance of for a long time. I didn't want to do pet portraits. I had just like a negative idea of what that meant, but that's pretty much what I'm doing all the time now, and I actually love it now. What changed, you may ask?
What changed?
What changed was that I learned about a little more how to price my artwork, and I found a medium that I actually loved, as opposed to before when I was doing kind of a bunch of different mediums that I was just mediocre at and charging nothing.
Yeah. Well, I think we all, as creators, learn to value ourselves a little better as time goes on.
Yes. And that is always the struggle, especially when you always will feel like you just started out, but really from the outside, you look like you could be a pro.
Yeah. So why did you feel that you didn't want to do the pet portraits?
I felt like it was a really oversaturated market. And at the time, I was wanting to be more of a serious illustrator. I wanted to do children's books, which I still always do. So I was focusing more on getting illustration jobs. And while I kept trying to build my illustration portfolio, I kept getting pet portrait inquiries kind of just out of nowhere. And I kept rolling with it. And then one day I decided to try acrylic painting. And that really changed the game for me.
So you were dabbling initially in another medium before acrylic?
I was doing a bunch. Okay, should we just start from the beginning?
Let's start from the beginning, yeah. Let's go all the way to the top. Little baby Aimee, when did you get into art and everything in between where we're at now?
Okay. I was always an independent child. How far back we want to go. I just always drawn.
When were you potty trained?
I was potty trained early.
I beg to differ because you use a lot of toilet paper.
The amount of do you go over the amount of toilet paper to use in potty training? Probably.
You should.
So in your opinion, I'm currently not potty trained.
To an extent, but not correctly. I don't like if I had to audit you, I would not sign you off. But I'm not a potty trained auditor, so.
Well, according to my parents, I was potty trained pretty early. Do you ask this to all the artists when they were potty trained?
Only the ones I really care about.
Aw.
I'm just joking. I care about them all, but yeah. So you're potty trained at a pretty young age, and then you got into art when?
And from there, I was a creative, independent child who just liked to draw, was never much of a colorer. I wanted to create the lines myself. So I started in middle school trying to be actually good at art, which is when a lot of kids drop out of doing art because they feel like if it's not good all of a sudden that there's no point in creating it. So that's something to push through if you are a younger person or know a younger person. But I did push through that phase and was still drawing for fun into high school, where we had an amazing art program and an excellent art teacher named Diane Heath.
Shout out to Diane Heath.
Always. She was a great art teacher, really prepared us for college, probably over prepared because by the time I got there, I felt really ahead in a lot of ways in my beginning classes. But then existential crisis hit, and I didn't know if I even wanted to do art. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Whoa, plot twist.
Yeah. So I actually dropped out of art school. And
where'd you go to school?
College for Creative Studies in Detroit.
Okay.
It was an excellent school, and I was enjoying all my classes. I was just terrified of being a freelance artist and having to always be searching for my next job, is how I thought it would be. So I just thought, I don't want to go into art. I want to do something with animals or, I don't know. So I ended up...
What'd you end up doing then?
Going to Whole Foods Market.
Oh, they take a lot of responsibility in making sure their animals that they source from are well cared for before they're eaten. So that's good.
They do.
Yeah.
Yes, I mostly went there because my mom told me they were hiring, and they had good wages, and still do, I think. And when
I think they had health benefits at that time too.
Yeah, they were popping, and I started working there. As I learned a little more about the company, I realized they actually had an in-house artist position. So I patiently waited for that position to open and went for it and spent a few years doing chalkboards there. And that was awesome. I loved doing that for a long time.
Did you meet anyone special while you were there?
Oh, yes.
Who'd you meet?
My husband.
Who's that? What's his name?
Cody.
Cody Buchanan.
Yes.
You heard it, folks. I'm married. So back off. Stop sending me DMs. I'm sick of it. I'm not just some piece of meat for you to marry. Okay, continue.
You were definitely a piece of meat for me to marry. And snatched him out of Whole Foods. And after a while there, doing retail art, me and my Whole Foods meat moved out to middle of nowhere, where I thought, there are no retail art jobs out here. What am I going to do? I honestly don't even remember what was going through my head that I thought I would do out here. But I did, in my mind, have a plan. And so eventually I found another market out here that wanted an artist. Or more so, I applied for a regular position there and then told them I was an artist and told them they should hire me as their artist. And that worked. Yep. And for a year and a half, I was the artist there, doing chalkboards, graphic design, their website. I learned all sorts of like social media management there. Yet still felt a little unfulfilled. Fast forward to getting pregnant.
And who did that to you?
Pretty sure that was that guy I met at Whole Foods.
Okay. Did you hear that, folks? Stop DMing me to have your babies. Not going to happen.
No.
I already have one. It's a lot of responsibility.
It is, yes.
More on that later.
And when I was pregnant, I kind of thought, well, where else am I going to find a job out here? I'm going to go back to work when I have my baby. I'll just work 2 days a week, and that'll be that. But the moment that our beautiful daughter emerged into this earth, I knew that I don't want to ever be away from her. I don't want to work for anyone else. I needed to make it work at home. That was where Ebb Flo Studio began.
Do you want to explain the name Ebb Flo Studio?
Sure.
As we lead into what happens next.
My name is Emily Beth Buchanan. Ebb. Our daughter's name is Florence. Flo. You know, Ebb and Flow. That's what we do. And also in the beginning, things truly did ebb and flow because I was still getting used to being a mom. I could take on a workload sometimes and sometimes I couldn't. So that was that. It was just kind of this unknown future of what this business could be. And it's changed a lot since then.
And so here we find ourselves today. You're now doing acrylic dog portraits, not dog, pet.
Yeah, all animals.
And you've done, obviously, dogs and cats. You've done chickens, and now you're doing your own kind of storyboard of animals as they come to you.
Yes.
For instance, on the wall behind you, I see a ferret in a nun's outfit, and I see a Sphinx cat in kind of like a, I don't know, is that like a...
She's like a little librarian.
Okay. You got a...
Maybe an assistant librarian.
Yorkie in like biker spiky gear, a bearded dragon with lipstick. So what's up with all that? Where did that come from, and what keeps you going towards that?
Where did that come from? I mean, my personal art has always been a little, I don't want to say it was just weird. I don't know how else to describe it.
As an outsider, when I met you, discovered your art and everything, it was definitely weird. But I liked weird. And it wasn't like weird for the sake of being weird. It was weird, I felt, because there was more to it. It was a form of expression for something else. And I know that sounds really deep and whatnot, but I don't know. I think knowing you as long as I have and spending like every waking moment with you, except for when I'm at work, that, yeah, there's a lot of layers to people and artists, and that's definitely there.
Well, thanks. I mean, I have always felt like my art is weird, but it is very true to my soul. And my soul is weird. I don't like the word weird. I really don't know how else to describe it, though. It is very true to my core. And the stories that have started to go with some of the characters I create, that's very new. It's definitely here to stay because I love it. And that feels very true to myself. Just very semi-serious stories.
What's your favorite story that you've told so far?
Probably the possum Gertrude.
Can you walk us through that one?
It was kind of just going through the fact that her village was accusing her sister of being a witch. And she's old-fashioned. She's got like a bonnet on. I love me a bonnet. We all know this. If you can throw a bonnet on something, it's everything. So Gertrude, in her bonnet, thinking of a way to get back at her village for accusing her sister of being a witch. Then it actually goes into a part 2, her sister, Joan. I've named a lot of characters.
I think I named that one, so I think it's Joan.
He names everything Joan, I swear to God.
I named one chicken Joan, and I named one possum Joan, because I read something about Joan of the Arc, and I just was hooked on it for like that week.
Yeah. Her sister Joan. They throw her into the well to see if she's a witch, and if she thinks she's a witch. She's a little nervous because she knows there's a good chance she could sink here. And she floats. And she looks up at all the villagers, shocked, looking down into the well. And she sees her sister Gertrude winking.
And so the plot twist is that Joan, the one being tried for being a witch, is in fact not a witch, but her sister is.
It's left to the viewer's discretion.
Okay.
If Joan is a witch.
That could be interpreted.
Gertrude, yeah, it could be interpreted. Gertrude, I would say for sure is a witch. I still have yet to do part 3.
Yeah, so there is a part 3 to that one.
Yes.
Okay, so we have to wait for part 3, but where does it, I guess, why do you do it for your art? Like, your art is beautiful alone. Why do you add the story to it? Not that there's anything wrong with it.
The story started out where I was just painting an animal for fun because I was in between commissions and was taking a crack at just making an original painting. And the story was just something I was thinking about during it. And it's kind of a humorous subject matter where like these animals in clothes, and I thought it's only natural to give them a backstory. And that's just very true to my process and my personality, I guess, where it's just like I'm thinking about who this little creature is while painting them and give them kind of a serious backstory that to me is always funny. And so far it has had a really positive response because I think it's a pretty uncommon Instagram caption. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to stop anytime soon. I always look forward to my next one. I have several planned at all times. Currently, I'm booked out with commission work though, which I love for different reasons. I love the balance between the two.
But it can be stressful being a full-time mom at home, and also every waking moment is dedicated to your art.
Yes, so, it is.
And we were talking the other night about like how we're the only ones of our friends that are at this stage in our life. And, you know, we were talking about like the advice we would give. And I made the point that 3 things to take away as a parent from having children is 1, they will teach you to love like you've never loved before. 2, it's not as challenging as everyone makes it sound. Granted, we've been very fortunate with our daughter.
Yeah, take that one as a grain of salt. Or what? Is that the expression?
Take that with a grain of salt.
Yes.
And 3, you always had so much time. You always had a phenomenal amount of time.
The amount of time you have is almost unfathomable.
If I hear one more person that doesn't have children complain about how they have no time, I'm going to suplex a panda bear through a bamboo table.
Do you even have the time?
I don't have the time
to do that,
but I will find the time, because that's exactly what children
that is
teach
what
you.
They teach you
is to find the time for your endeavors, the things that you were always passionate about. Like
yes.
Before our daughter came along, bless her sweet little soul, that little bean. Before she came along, it was always, I can just put it off. You know, I don't have time for it right now. I'll get around to it. But, you know, if you're someone who's passionate enough about what you do, you know, you find every waking moment that she's sleeping and squeeze all the productivity juice out of it.
Yeah, that's so true. And also, she has given the motivation and I guess, I don't know if I'd call it the confidence or the like, I don't care-ness of just trying and just putting stuff out there and not overanalyzing it and not waiting until you're at the most 100% perfect stage of your art, whatever you're doing, in order to start. You're just doing it. You're just in there. You don't have time to hesitate. You are just going to go for it. Who do you have to impress? Your body is recovering from giving birth.
You're already married.
I'm already married. We own like 2 fanny packs.
Yeah, we do actually.
There is no one to impress.
I wear a sun hat
daily.
Like, yeah, even on like a shady day.
Yeah. We're in our late 20s here. I mean, this is the reality of settling down and the beauty of it, where you can just go for it and you don't have to be concerned. But that is something I wish I would have done before children.
Yeah, if you could tell yourself,
oh my
like,
God,
5 years ago,
the amount of time I had 5 years ago. Where were we 5 years ago?
I think we were in Lake Orion.
La Croyant. Yes. I was pretty busy there, to be honest. I did have 2 jobs.
We were busy, but all of our time outside of work was spent doing what? Just chilling, basically.
Yeah. 5 years ago, we had
ambition, but we
yes.
didn't have like that driving force, which child
yes.
will drive you.
I would say even a year and a half ago, me, when I was pregnant, and granted, I did not feel good, but I did have a lot of time and I did have a large commission that I was working on, a children's book, but I still had so much extra time. And I am glad I actually took the time to just do nothing. But at the same time, I think I really could have set the foundation for my business, but I didn't have the vision for it then. I was still worried that if I took on freelance, I would just be begging for work all the time. And I didn't do the research on how to actually build an online presence or how just posting your art frequently leads to interest in it.
But somebody was, prior to, our daughter coming along, somebody was pushing you. Somebody was always like, even like before you were married, they were always saying like, you just got to put yourself out there. Like, your art is amazing. People need to see it and people will pay for it. Who was that?
That was you. That's
right. I forgot. I don't know why I keep forgetting that.
I know. I do too. But you did. And I wish I took your advice, but I might have not even ended up in this direction. I could be doing more serious illustration like I had thought I really wanted to do, and never would have discovered the joy of acrylic painting that I know now. And that really took certain artists that I discovered after she was born and just them inspiring me to give that a try, such as Aimee Hoover.
Shout out to Aimee Hoover.
Yes, she's really incredible. She's a wildlife painter. I'm sure you could see some inspiration of her in my work, but without her, I had painted a lot in high school, but I hadn't done it since then, and I loved painting in high school. So just seeing all her paintings all the time really made me want to try, and that was in January only, and it's August now. So really, I've only been working in the style I'm currently working in since January, and I feel like I finally found the style that I am.
But it will always change.
I think it'll always improve from here, but I don't see myself going back to doing a bunch of other mediums all the time. I still do offer digital, and I guess I don't offer watercolor right now, but I still do those things. If anyone's interested, I'll do it. But right now my heart is in acrylic.
Yeah. Well, I think you are a natural with it. You're as good with acrylic as I am with Excel files. Actually,
yes, and he's amazing.
phenomenal. You're way better, actually.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a lot of work in progresses on the wall, too, that I believe the world needs to see. Of course, you have commissions that are damming up the river, but those are beautiful whips that you have going on.
Thank you.
You have a lot of prints on the way.
Are we going to talk about Shrek?
We'll get there. Speaking of prints, and I'm not talking about the music, you have hit a stride with a very interesting subject matter, and it came to you in a dream. And I remember you walking me through this dream as you and a fellow artist were walking through a very regal house. So this led you to a famous printing, or a famous series of prints, paintings that led to prints.
Famous,
world famous.
Famous is in quotations.
Not really.
So I had the dream. I had a dream that I got my dream job. My literal dream job was that a very rich person in a mansion had hired me and a fellow artist to paint these regal, like Renaissance style Shreks on all of their doors.
As in the ogre.
As in DreamWorks Pictures Shreks. And that was what I woke up from. It was vividly still in my vision as I opened my eyes. And I thought, okay, I need to paint at least one.
What a strange thing to dream about and say, this is my swan song. I need to do this.
It's like it truly has become a dream come true, because I was dreaming that my job was to paint regal Shreks. And my first regal Shrek has almost sold out of prints. I had the idea for a second regal Shrek that I had no choice but to execute because it was too beautiful. And that one is almost sold out of prints, which has been
as of August 16th.
So flattering.
Where are you at
right now?
How many do you have left?
Of the prints, I have 2 of each of those.
Wow.
And that's it. And then...
But it doesn't stop there.
Yeah. So in my mind right now, I have a series of 4 regal Shreks.
Okay.
And I have just released number 3. You'll have to check them out.
You have a number 4. Do you already have it planned out, number 4 in your head, or?
You know that it is planned out.
Whoa.
Don't read into that.
And then after the Regal Shrek series, are you done with Shrek, or?
I don't think I'll ever be totally done because...
I mean, who can be done with Shrek?
Right. I think it was surprisingly... Like, I'm not the world's biggest Shrek fan. I don't even come close. But it was so much fun and so relaxing, especially when I'm mostly doing commissioned work. And it's kind of like you just need a release in between, like, a couple of them. And you know there's 1 or 2 lined up behind it. And you just need to do something fun. And I feel like I'm studying the techniques of the old masters, but it is also so ridiculous that I can't help but be in a good mood when I make them. And yeah, I mean, that itself has been incredibly rewarding. And I think I will always create ridiculous art. I can't say for sure if Shrek will be done after this 4th planned piece.
We're going to talk about that. But speaking on how relaxing it is, have you watched the movie and not felt relaxed? Like, even in its most tense moments, Shrek is just an easygoing movie.
It's so feel good. And yeah, I think we need to revisit it.
Yeah.
I've loved every
Maybe
time
even the sequel. Maybe. But so I think beyond the Renaissance series, I imagine in my mind, now just picture this. And I want people's input. Shrek with a full spacesuit, except for the helmet off, under his arm, just like posed and ready.
While, yeah, I would love to know people's input too, because my vision, my literal dream vision was Renaissance Shreks.
I think he needs to go everywhere. He needs to go out into space. He needs to go to the Wild West. He needs to be like serving hot dogs on a New York street, like Shrek in all sorts of walks of life.
So if you think I should...
Because there's a Shrek in all of us. I think that's what the message is.
I'm glad that's what you're getting from it.
Neil Armstrong has a Shrek inside of him. I think, is he dead? Neil Armstrong?
He's dead or very old.
Okay, well, either way, he either has or had a Shrek inside of him.
So his past or present Shrek needs to be created.
Yeah.
All right. Let Cody know if I need to make that, because he won't stop communicating to me.
I keep pushing for it. I want to give you guys the best, and I can't paint it, but I know someone who can.
Yeah. Where I'd feel more drawn to doing classical Shreks, but let him know. If enough people really are interested in that, maybe I'll do it if I've got the time.
Between diapers and commissions.
Yes. Diapers. Beautiful time watching our beautiful girl be her beautiful self. And then the work breaks that I do get throughout the day. Thank you to you and my mom.
Shout out to Mama Buchanan. Your Mama Buchanan. Shout out to Grandma.
Yeah.
Freak of Paper.
Yes, she is also an artist of card making.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing of your family. And let's first of all, let's get one thing out of the way. I took Emily's last name, Buchanan. I hear you through there, like cocking your head. Don't do that. That's not good for you. I took her last name for interesting reasons. Basically, just no connection to the name I had, for it was a name that belonged to someone that I didn't know and wasn't actually my father. And the person that is my father, suggested that I didn't really want the name when I suggested taking that name. So it's a little deep of a story. I might even cut this, but
no, keep it. Your family history is pretty mind-blowing.
It's a very interesting story in my family, but we'll probably never get into that. But I took my wife's last name as an honor to her family. Not that there's anything wrong with the people in my family. I love my family and I respect them all. I just felt that instead of taking any name or making any name that wasn't theirs, mine, it felt disrespectful. So I took her last name. And getting into that family side, her family side, the art starts with your mother, right? So she is what we call a stamper, right?
Yes. So if you know any stampers or scrapbookers in your life, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But there is a community of people who, it's through a company called Stampin' Up originally, from what I understand, but they make beautiful handmade cards. And I think right now more than ever, we need to be sending each other real handmade letters from the heart. And it is so cool. My mom got a lot of other people in my family involved in card making, and now I get so many beautiful handmade cards in the mail. So does Cody and our daughter. And
His cards are phenomenal. Like, I get cards. I've always gotten cards growing up for birthdays, whatever. These cards like blow my freaking mind. There's like layers to them, so they're like 3D.
mm-hmm.
They're like perfectly adjusted to my likes and my hobbies, and the season, like the holiday, like everything is spot on with these cards. But they're always like different, beautiful, like colors and backgrounds and textures and stamps. I love them.
And they're totally made by hand and just really incredible. And I, as an artist, have tried to make them, but I am sloppy. I am a sloppy person, honestly. If you ever watch a video of me painting, it will be clear that I am a mess. And I can't do that. I can't do card making, so props to them. But what you're getting at is that my family has a handmade arty element to them, a little bit of a background. My mom would say she's not artistic, but
Artsy fartsy, though, right?
big time.
Let's break character for a second. That's like the worst insult.
Yeah, I don't like when people say artsy fartsy, but that's mostly because they are a person who has no artistic relations in their life, and then they meet you. I'm talking about like coworkers of mine who see that I'm making, like back when I worked doing art for retail, and they would say, wow, you're really artsy fartsy. And it was just clear that they don't really know artists. I'm not insulting them. Anything they say to me, I just take as a compliment.
Yeah. I mean, I would ask you what an artsy fart would smell like, but interesting fact about you that we're going to drop in here right now is that you can't smell, right?
Yes, if you've made it to 40 minutes in, then you know that I was born with no sense of smell. And Cody loves it.
I hate it.
You hate it.
Yeah, I've complained so much about this. Anytime there's a stain on the floor or a wet spot or whatever, I have to smell everything. And I have a very sensitive sense of smell.
Right.
So I am always forced to put my sensitive sniffer in the line of fire, and I'm sick of smelling like pee and just smears.
Some of us aren't so lucky.
There's a few of us. Yeah.
But it is not something that I feel like takes away from my life at all. So don't feel bad for me. I don't know any other way. And I embrace it fully, except when I'm worried there's a gas leak, then I'm not embracing it. But we have all kinds of detectors now, so.
Yeah. Now, let's not bore them with detector talk. We do use the Kitty brand, but that's for another episode. Mm-hmm. And maybe we'll get into the not being able to smell in another episode too, but.
You brought it up.
I know I brought it up. We're not going to get too into it right now.
Okay.
So your family's very artsy fartsy. So are you. So let's get into just a little more about the foundation of you and your creations. So what inspires you to create? Or I guess a better question would be, what inspired you to create earlier in your life and what inspires you now?
How early are we talking? As in, like, okay, when I was actually working art jobs, I had almost no inspiration because I was just working. I was just creating things for displays in grocery stores, and I loved it at the time. But was I actually creating personal art outside of work? No, because all of my artistic energy was just going towards displays of wine or cheese. Again, I really loved it, and I got a lot of fulfillment from that job, but not nearly as much as I do now that I'm actually creating what I want to. What was the question?
What inspired you to create before, and what inspires you now? Do you need to top your glass off?
I think I'm good. So what inspired me to create before was
when you're not creating for retail,
like back in
the past.
Yes.
What inspired you to create?
Probably me being a moody early 20-something.
Okay.
Back then, honestly, like,
what kind of art did that net you? Like, what does that art look like? Describe it.
Graphic.
That's not enough.
It was graphic. But still, I feel like it had that same lighthearted, it was like a playful take on, I guess, like relationship troubles and...
Not our relationship.
No.
Right. I just want that out there.
No, I don't think I made any weird art about us.
Right.
But definitely have made weird art about other people. And yeah, honestly, it just would be like a release that I wouldn't really be thinking about.
I mean, can you think of a particular piece in your head, though, of that time and what it looks like?
A lot of my work during that time would be a complete, like, blank-minded release where I would just draw. And usually when I do that, it ends up being like naked ladies or something. And I haven't done this in a long time, to be honest. But when I used to sketchbook, like after work in my early 20s, just twisted up body parts, and I really wish there were something deeper behind it. And I know looking back at each one, I can tell where I was at that time and what I was thinking about. But when I'm actually drawing it, it doesn't have the deepest meaning ever. It's more of just like mind vomit onto a page, and then I feel better. But a lot of like just moody early 20s something stuff, and that's what used to inspire me. Nowadays, as a professional with my business, what inspires me to like create the stuff that's not a commission would be, the most honest answer I have is I will just be like walking about my day and I will just see something. Do you want to know my current thing I just saw that I'm going to make?
What's that?
It is a Furby wedding.
Furby.
Like a vintage Furby wedding photo. As
in like the worst trend of the 90s, possibly the 80s. Mm-hmm. I don't know when they started.
Correct.
Wow.
And that is really my process right now, because my brain knows I do not have the time to like work out a concept. My brain just kind of does it in the background and then just hands it to me. That's the most honest answer I have at this point in my life, where I am a very busy mom and my brain will just be like, yeah, ferret, none. I'm like, all right, we'll name her Patricia.
So
she might be a lesbian. I don't know. That's what I do.
I mean, on the topic of Furbies, though, like that's risky because people aren't buying Furbies. People are putting up Furbies online and like paying people to take them. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, they want to get rid of them. My
vision for that one is not about the risk. It is about the reward. And the reward is in my heart. And that's all I have to say on the matter of Furbies.
Okay. Okay, so your brain, though, it operates on a first name, and this is the animal, and this is what they're going to be wearing in their occupation. Currently,
yeah. That is it. And I think it's really because, like we were talking before, when you have a kid, you have zero time. And my brain knows that, and it knows I don't have the time to dwell on stuff. And in the background, it's just finding me the perfect thing. Mm-hmm. And I trust it.
Good. Got to trust your brain.
that's really how it's working right now. I wish I had more. I hear other artists talk about how they're like in a library reading this book and studying, and they're thinking about this. I'm not thinking about much. I mean, I know I am deep down.
What do you think about in a day?
Diapers.
Like how many are left, or
I think about diapers.
if they're soiled?
Yeah, mostly. We're doing early potty training, so.
How's that going for us?
Great, I think.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of her.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly am focusing on her, focusing on responding to my clients, focusing on making sure I know. I think a productivity tip I've heard before, and it has worked for me, is when you're not working, but you know you will be at a certain time, say the night before, and you know in the morning you're going to work, to plan out exactly what you're going to work on. Because sometimes when you have a lot of projects lined up, it is mega overwhelming to be like actually in the moment where it's like, yes, I'm finally going to work. I'm going to work from this time to this time, and not know what you should focus on. So I try to plan it out beforehand. So that is something I think about throughout the day, is like, I know she's going to take a nap at this time, and I'm going to work on this during that. I try to set little goals for myself, but also that can lead to disappointment, especially if you're a parent and you can't always control when you like how much time you will have. I don't know how long she'll nap, so I try not to set crazy goals, but for like a weekend, I'll say I at least want to get this animal done. And then when I get more done than that, I feel really good.
Okay, so how do you find your commissions, or how do they find you?
So in all my years as an artist, something I never really utilized was social media, specifically Instagram. I infrequently posted there and didn't really spend too much time on there. That was something I started doing after our daughter was born, was just posting my art. And really, I've been very lucky, truly lucky. I'm so grateful that I was the algorithm put my art in front of the right eyes that saw it and ordered something from me or inquired about something. And truly, ever since I started consistently posting my artwork back in October, I have not had a single break from commissioned work. There's been like slower weeks where maybe I just have one, and that's the times when I'm creating a lot of my extra stuff, like my Shreks or my characters, just for fun. But since frequently posting my artwork and using hashtags, my art has gotten in front of more people, and that has helped me tremendously with getting my art out there. Also, when I have a super awesome client who shares the work I did because they were really pleased with it, then that helps me a ton. And I'm so appreciative of that. So yeah, I've been really lucky. I have tried out like some ads on Facebook Marketplace, and that has been really helpful as well. So I'm still learning all of that. But as of right now, clients have found me through being present on my social media.
So all hail the algorithm.
Yes.
RN Jesus. So how much time do you find to do all this in a week? Obviously, being a full-time mother takes up most of your time.
It is a full-time job and beyond to be a mom. It is the busiest I've been in my entire life. Also the most productive I've ever been. So that's good. But I think what makes it work for me is working really fast. And that's something I've always done. I've always painted fast, but now it is crucial to tap into that. So I really only have a few hours a day. And there are some days when my mom comes over and we'll watch her in the morning. And then I also get a nap. So I get a couple extra hours on 2 days a week.
Shout out to Grandma.
Shout out to Grandma. And without that, I would be probably a lot more stressed out. And then on the weekends, I have my wonderful husband who will take her for some mornings. And then I have a couple extra hours too. I haven't ever really tallied up how many hours in a week it is, but it is few. I feel like it's part-time hours. And I just pump out as much as I can in that time. And my brain knows I have to. And I have no choice. And that's how I make it work.
And what would you say, like, in your creative process is unique to you?
I would say the way I come up with my ideas, which is pretty unique to me based on other artists I've talked to, where it's, my brain does all the work for me. What else is unique to me is that I actually sketch my pieces with paint. I don't really sketch with pencil. That's something I've just done since high school. And I mostly just do it out of impatience and my lack of planning abilities. And that's come back to bite me like more than once, but I, for the most part, am not a planner with my artwork. And I think that's unique to me. And I just hope it works out. And most of the time it does. But I get pretty bummed when it doesn't, even though I totally had it coming.
And your art, obviously, it's often pretty funny.
Thank you.
Does that mean it is just, coming from a place within you that is trying to make it funny? Or is it like personal experience that it's built off of, or stories, or where does that all come from, the background?
Could you give me a piece in particular that you're thinking of? Because I don't.
There's some that are about like a gerbil and a ferret love interest,
yes.
Lesbian love interest.
So...
And then there are some that's about like a pug running away from her wedding day.
Yes. So in the instance of the pug running away from her wedding day, which
you did not do on our wedding day.
Nope. I showed up.
You were there. I remember.
The pug, though, Beatrice, I painted her without really having her whole story planned, but she was just bashfully looking over her shoulder. And as pugs do, they have all these wrinkles, like all these folds as they're looking over their shoulder. And her eyes are all sad and cockeyed. And it's just funny to me. So I guess it is to be funny, but just to think of her wedding story and that she is still thinking about the bad boys of her past, who ends up being another character I painted, Terrence, who is a Yorkie. I guess it's just to be funny for me, of like thinking of these stories and these animal combinations. That's truly just my personal release as somebody who has very little free time and very little relaxation time. That's my release. And that is like such a fun time of my week to write those stories.
When something that you're working on is complete, like you are like, this is done and ready for the world, what does that feel like? And how do you know?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Or maybe we'll reverse that. How do you know, and what does that feel like?
Okay, so it's a good question. And it's really hard. I feel like I've gotten better as I am now pretty much pumping out pieces. And I'm in this routine of doing it now where I don't have the time to overanalyze if something's finished. But usually if it looks clean, because it's unfinished, it is still messy. If it has enough contrast, because that's something that I really tweak at the end, like something I kind of fixate on. The colors are bold enough. I think truly, though, the lines being clean is my like determining factor, because that's something I go over a lot. And then when it's finally done, I just have to stop myself. I think I had a professor Is it a professor at art school? I don't know. I had a teacher at art school, an instructor, who said that every artist needs someone with a hammer who stands over them while they work and slams it on their hand when they're done. Does that make any sense?
No, I think that makes sense. I think that something similar can be said about a lot of mediums or arts.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of creators struggle with something being done because they want it to be perfect.
Yeah.
And they keep thinking, I can fix this. I can adjust this. I can add this, remove this. This will all make this better. But at the end of the day, and as we learned in the episode with Ted Fagan, Monster Rally, nobody's going to be as critical of your work as you.
Yeah.
So at some point, you need to just call it done.
Yeah.
And put it out there.
Yes. I think that is excellent advice. I think that was an excellent episode also. Very relatable for me.
Mm-hmm. And he's a musician. He's also a visual artist too, but a musician.
Yes.
So it crosses all.
It really does.
Genres, mediums.
But yes, I think
forms of art. What does it feel like when the art is done?
It feels amazing when the art is done. And it's a relief. When you have a heavy workload, it is a relief. I was a perfectionist for a long time, but at the same time I kind of wasn't. But like, I create frequently enough that I can tell when my art is at a finished point and I can be done with it and I can move on. But I truly could spend months on one thing if I let myself. And I feel like you can overwork things that way. And I like to keep the looseness in my art and the playfulness there and not over tighten. Once I can tell it is tight enough, even though I know there's stuff I could tweak endlessly, I'm happy to say I'm at a point now where I can cut off myself.
Do you think you would ever step outside of the acrylic again?
I really can't foresee that for myself right now, just because my time is so limited. I know as our daughter gets older that I will have more time to play around with other stuff, but truly right now I don't have too much of an interest. I'm kind of just honed in wanting to like perfect this one medium, and I feel very comfortable there. But I could see maybe in the future, I have always wanted to write or illustrate a children's book of our own writing. And I don't know if that would be in the same medium or not, but that is something that I think I will do in the next few years. And I don't know if that branches into that counts as being another medium or not.
I mean, kind of. You've done children's books before.
But never like our own.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to try oil as well, but I don't think that's too different.
Mm-hmm.
Like end result wise.
Yeah. How do you set your goals and like keep them realistic for yourself?
I make my husband keep me grounded. No, let me re-answer.
You force somebody else to keep you grounded.
Let me re-answer this.
Okay.
So you said, how do I set realistic goals? How do I set goals and keep them realistic? It's really hard for me, to be honest. I have so many ideas all the time. I have so many on the back burner, and often my first priority has to be commissions. So I know about how many paintings I can produce in a week, and so I kind of set a loose goal that way. I can say, yeah, I can do 3 this week based on how many grandma days I have. I try to be realistic that way, but at the same time, I really am like, I want to paint those Furbies. Maybe I could do that on Saturday. And then, of course, I don't get to do that on Saturday because I wasn't being realistic because I had too many other paintings to do. So I could see myself getting disappointed and wishing I did the Furbies. It's tough. Ask me again in a year when I hopefully have that more figured out.
or another baby on the way. As long as, of course, everything that's going on in the world right now settles the down. Jesus.
Yeah.
What is going on in the world and how is it affecting you? COVID-19
Oh my
and
gosh.
civil unrest and economic collapse.
Incredibly stressful, as I'm sure everyone who is paying attention is feeling. How could you not be incredibly stressed by it? I don't have too much control.
You don't.
I really don't. We just do our best. Try to support the good guys here. As for what my life looks like with COVID, very similar as it would without, but with the internet, I am painfully aware of everything going on in the world, and it weighs very heavily on me almost always. So, yeah, we're just getting through it and just trying to stay positive, like focusing on the little wins that are happening out there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what's a little win that you've seen recently?
My little wins would probably be seeing someone who is very sternly on one side, seeing them acknowledge that their representative has also done a terrible job at certain things.
Donald Trump wore a mask.
That's a definite win.
That's great.
That is a really good example. Him wearing a mask really helps in moving past this for everyone. I was very happy to see that.
Yeah. Wear a fucking mask, everyone. Like, just wear a mask. There's so many countries that just wore a mask and are done with this, and they're all playing like shirtless soccer together and stuff, and we could be doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't be doing that. So stop doing that and wear a mask for like 3 months.
I know. I mean, it's too late for Halloween, but do it for Thanksgiving. Do it for Christmas. But
Halloween is a favorite in this house, but
yes. Thankfully, our daughter is too young to be disappointed, but we are very disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. But as for what my actual life looks like with COVID going on, it is another positive to have a child in a way. And I've heard other parents say this too, because you are so busy and you are so in your routine, because you have to be, like little kids have to be on a routine, that you don't really have the time to like you're not suddenly routineless and like, what am I going to do with myself? Like a lot of people were feeling in the first quarantine.
Right.
You are just going about your day exactly as you always do, with the added stress of the world feeling like it is collapsing.
Right.
I'm trying to stay very positive about it all because I have no choice. Hoping that, it can't go on forever.
Yeah.
And hoping that we can get some unified, I guess all one could really ask for is a national plan on how to control the virus.
Right.
Literally all I'm hoping for.
Yeah. So I'm going to segue. I'm not going to segue. I'm just going to change the subject. What does success look like for you?
Man, it looks like a lot of things. To me, financial success would just be you being able to be home. That's really my end goal. But for me, I already feel like I have hit success. Like I feel like I have been successful. I'm not where my end goal is, but really the goal I set when I started my business was to work from home and be with my baby, and I have been successful with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had consistent work since starting, and that's been a huge success for me and something I am always grateful for and excited about. So, I mean, it's really just the beginning for this business of mine, but I don't see it slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel very excited about it. It brings me a lot of joy. I do feel like I am achieving my dreams. So
Good.
And I have you to thank, sweetie.
Of course. You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
For what?
For thanking me.
We're tired.
No, I'm not.
You're not tired?
I'm exhausted.
Oh.
What advice would you have for fellow creators out there, whether they're just starting or deep into it?
I'd say screw imposter systems.
Impostrages.
Screw imposter syndrome is what I'm trying to say. Do you know
Do
you know what imposter syndrome is?
Explain it.
That is that little voice in your head that says, you are an imposter. You are acting like you are a professional when you're not. And you are acting like you're a serious artist and you are clearly not. And you should wait until you're bigger to try to make sales. That's what it is, pretty much. So
screw it.
I say screw it because I definitely have felt like, especially doing pet portraits, there's so many out there, and I could look at any of the big names and say, well, I have to be there before I am seriously putting my art out here. Like, who's going to buy mine when theirs is there?
Mm-hmm.
When there's so many people better. And instead, I would just say, just do it. Just post it. It doesn't matter if anything comes from it. Just continuously put your work out there, and you will get people who are interested in it and interested in your process, interested in connecting with you. In return, you will meet a lot of very cool people. I've met awesome people who I can see in my life for a long time just through posting my art on Instagram and it connecting with them. So my advice is to just do it. Don't wait until you feel perfectly ready. And a lot of people give that advice about having children too, because if you wait till you're 100% ready, it won't happen. If you're someone who wants to have kids, but you're like just waiting until your finances are perfect or your home is 100% ready.
Yeah. Could be too late.
So that's kind of the same advice I have followed for my art business. Now that I've gotten this new streak of inspiration since becoming a mom, realizing I just need to do it, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and it can evolve. Like, I don't have my whole business model figured out, and stuff can change, and that's totally fine. I am just putting stuff out there. What's that expression? You throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. That's what I'm doing. That's my advice, is to just do it.
Yeah, and I think to expand off of that is the putting yourself out there doesn't mean committing to anything, because there are even the largest of corporations that pivot into a new direction. And sometimes it doesn't succeed for them because they're so damn big, but you're not going to be that big that you need to worry about that. Pivoting is always an option.
Yes, always. You can always pivot. And I mean, I've already done it several times. And now, if it weren't for pivoting, I wouldn't have found what I really enjoy doing. Yeah.
And what's really nice, especially with like Instagram, not that we're like sponsored by Instagram or anything, of course not. What's really nice is that you can just change your name, even if you pivot so hard that your name needs to change.
Yeah. And I mean, unless you buy a website domain, you're not really locked into anything. And you don't even have to buy a website domain right away. No. Just start. And it can grow from there. But you will wish you started months ago, years ago, when you finally do get the courage to start. So just do it yesterday.
Mm-hmm. And what are you watching, listening to, reading? What are you doing and consuming that you think everyone else needs to go out and do right now? And well, you can't say The Office.
I'm not going to say The Office. If anyone has any recommendations for us, we have run out of stuff on Netflix and we're back on The Office. But I'm not going to talk about something to watch. I'm going to... You asked.
Okay.
Okay, if you listen to The Bachelor, or if you watch The Bachelor, listen to Game of Roses podcast. That's all.
That's it? You're an artist and you're going to tell people to watch, or rather listen to something that follows the worst reality TV show on television.
It is a very different take on it. I'm obsessed. It is a dark, twisted take on every aspect of it, viewing it as a game, like a sport. And it is exactly what I have done for years.
Okay.
And here it is. And you asked. That's what I'm listening to right now.
That's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm punished, and that's fine. Okay, great. And where can people find you?
Well, you can find me I'm mostly hanging out on my Instagram account, which is ebb.flo, FLO.studio, ebb.flo.studio at Instagram.com. I should just say that's my Instagram handle. I'm so toasty. That's my plug. And I share some of our daily life just in my story and just working mom stuff. But I post a couple little animals a week, and yeah. And
you have a website, an Etsy?
Oh, I do have an Etsy. Yeah, it's all linked in my bio on my Instagram. And I have a website, and I have a Facebook account too, but that's mostly people who already follow me on Instagram. So
yeah,
just go to my Instagram, I would say.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anything else that you have for the wonderful listeners out there?
I don't think so. I'm really happy to finally join you on your podcast.
Yeah.
I hope you'll have me back sometime. I know.
Yeah. Well, I hope to have you on here again. I think there is always an update that someone can provide, whether they've been on the show just the previous week or it was a year ago. So we'll definitely try to get you back on here. You gotta work through some red tape and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just
I'll talk to your agent.
To our agent. Yep.
Okay.
Our manager. You should have his email.
Yeah, I'll shoot him up.
Cool. Don't shoot him up.
I'll hit him up.
That's better.
I need to eat some popcorn
and watch The Office. All right. Well, hey, I'm glad that you were on here today. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Good night. All right, everybody. That is the interview with Aimee Buchanan, my wife. I hope you enjoyed it. We were clearly pretty tired, and that's what you get what you pay for. So next week, there will be a bonus episode pertaining to this episode, of course. And later next week, we'll be doing a spooky reading for the most spooky time of the year. So if you're looking to spook your pants off, then we've got your fix. In the following week, I will be sitting down with John Moods, a Berlin musician who I get all sorts of philosophical with. So a lot to look forward to with that one. Last episode featured Shiro Schwarz, the duo out of Mexico City, who I think you should be listening to. So make sure you tune in for that while you wait for next week. Be sure to follow on Instagram, None the Lesser, and Ebb Flo Studio. That's her handle on there. Ebb Flo Studio also has an Etsy website. So there's a lot of ways to connect with her. And yeah, I'll see you next time. And thank you for listening.